Egyptian language, the mountains of the moon, Niger-Congo speakers, and the origin of Egypt. Many people over the years have been fascinated by the fact that the ancient Egyptian language is closely related to African languages, especially those African languages spoken by the Niger-Congo people. In Egyptian language, Dr. Clyde Winters tells us the story of the rise of ancient Egypt. He illustrates in his book that the ancient Egyptians were a multi-ethnic people that included numerous various African nations that exist today. The majority of these people in Egyptian language, Dr. Winters shows, were Niger-Congo speakers. In the Egyptian language, the mountains of the moon, Niger-Congo speakers, and the origin of Egypt. Dr. Clyde Winters tells us about the role of Niger-Congo speakers in the rise of Egypt and the origin of Egyptian civilization. Egyptian languages is divided into 7 chapters. Chapter 1 discusses the Unanian culture. Chapter 2, the phylogeography of Niger-Congo speakers. Chapter 3, the fact that Egypt was a pan-African civilization. Chapter 4, an introduction to comparative linguistics. Chapter 5 provides the linguistic methods of Chi-Anta Diop. In Chapter 6, Afrocentric linguistic methods are discussed. Chapter 7 provides an overview of the origin of writing in Africa. There's also 3 appendixes. Appendix 1 deals with the Afroasiatic language. Appendix 2 deals with the Puntite language. The Puntite languages is just a name of that I call the Semitic languages because this part of Africa was called Punt in ancient time. And Appendix 3 deals with the Berber languages, those languages that are spoken by people in North Africa. The French linguist Mademoiselle Homberger devoted much of her life to the study of African languages. In her later years, she made the shocking discovery that the Niger-Congo family of languages were related to the Egyptian language. This led Dr. Homberger and M. Delafosse to declare that the Niger-Congo family of languages and Egyptian had a common origin. Egyptian languages provides the linguistic evidence that confirms the hypothesis of Cheikh Anta Diop, L. Homberger, and M. Delafosse that Niger-Congo speakers and Egyptians had a common origin. In this book, we argue that many Egyptians living in the 22 Sapats, or nomes of Upper Egypt, spoke Niger-Congo languages, including the Bantu language, the Fulani language, and the Mandi language, to name a few. Egyptian languages, the mountains of the moon, the Niger-Congo speakers, and the origin of Egypt provides us with a detailed discussion of the genetics that support the role of Niger-Congo speakers in the rise of Egypt. It explains the phylogeography of Y chromosome haplotypes shared among the Niger-Congo speakers. These haplotypes include A, B, E1, B1A, E1, B1B, E2, E3A, and R1. The predominant Y chromosomes among the Niger-Congo speakers who later formed the ancient Egyptian nation was M2, M35, and N33. We also discuss, in a sense, the female side of mankind. This side is called mtDNA, and this is the chromosomes passed on from mothers to their offspring. The major mtDNA haplogroups that we find among the people who later formed the Egyptian nation was L1, L2, L3, and U5. All of these genetic haplogroups are related to the Niger-Congo speakers. Phylogenetically, all the Eurasian mitochondrial DNA branches descend from L3. Africans and Dravidians share haplogroups M1, M3, M30, and M33. In Egyptian language, you learn that ancient Egypt was a pan-African civilization. Egypt was a pan-African civilization because it was made up of 42 Sepats. They were populated by different ethnic groups who spoke a variety of languages, including languages belonging to the Nilo-Saharan and Niger-Congo languages. The Niger-Congo and Nilo-Saharan speakers originated in the highlands of the Sahara. One of the first populations to settle the Sahara was the Nilo-Saharan speakers. The Nilo-Saharan speakers were probably the creators of what's called the aquatic toolkits associated with the African Aqualithic period. The Nilo-Saharans were predominantly fisher hunter-gatherers, and they provide evidence that the original settlers of this wet Sahara used an aquatic toolkit. The author also recognized another Saharan culture that played a role in the peopling of the desert and the rise of ancient Egypt. Dr. Winter shows that this population hunted animals with bows and arrows. They are associated with the Unanian culture. The Unanian culture existed 12,000 years ago. The Unanian culture is associated with sites in Central Egypt, Algeria, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger. The Unanian tradition is probably associated with the Niger-Congo phylum of the Niger-Congo and Nilo-Saharan speakers. This would explain the close relationship between Nilo-Saharan and Niger-Congo. The Unanians were members of the Caspian population. There was continuity between the population of the Maghreb and southern Sahara, referred to as Capsians, Ibero-Maurusians, and Mechtoids. The Niger-Congo speakers are descendants of the Caspian population. This is the first book to really discuss the idea that ancient Egypt was a Pan-African civilization. We've been taught for years that the ancient Egyptians were a monolithic people. This is not the case. In Egyptian language, Dr. Winter shows that the ancient nation of Kemet, or Egypt, was a confederation of 42 African tribes, nomad states, among them the Mani, the Soninke, the Hausa, the Akan, and various Bantu groups. In Egyptian language, we learn that some of the southern nomads were led by the Inyotepes. These Inyotepes were composed of people who later migrated to West Africa after the Romans came to power. The Thebans were closely united with the Nubians. Inyotep I was the father of Menhotep I. Several of the wives of Menhotep II were Nubians. Under Mentuhotep, the Delta chiefs were defeated, and Egypt was united again into one country, a country full of various ethnic groups who spoke a variety of languages and saw ancient Egyptian as a lingua franca. A lingua franca is a language that is used to unite people who speak various languages. And because ancient Egyptian was a lingua franca, it includes many aspects, many terms and words from other African languages. The majority of people who lived in this ancient civilization. It is interesting to note that the Mandi and other West African people like the Dogon and Dravidians worship the god Amma. The fact that Mandi, Wolof, and Fula languages are related to Egyptian is probably due to the fact that when the Inyotepes took over Egypt, the ancestors of these groups lived in southern Egypt, Upper Kush. This would explain, 1, the relationship between the Fula and Egyptian language of the 12th dynasty, the introduction of the worship of Amun to the Egyptians, a god worshipped by many Niger-Congo speakers. 3, the presence of Egyptian gods for selected nomads bearing West African ethnonyms. And 4, the love of the Basenji dog by the 12th dynasty Egyptians, a dog which is prominently found in West Africa. Egypt was indeed a Pan-African civilization, and Egyptian language tells you all about this. In chapter 4 and 5, we explain the comparative linguistic method and how Dr. Anta Diop used this method to prove a genetic linguistic relationship existed between the Niger-Congo and ancient Egyptian language. Following this introduction to comparative linguistics, readers will learn about the many other African linguists who have confirmed the research of Professor Diop. In Chapter 7, Dr. Winters explores the history of writing in Africa. Yes, writing in Africa. He explains how Africans use hieroglyphic, pictographic, and syllabic writing systems to express themselves, explain their beliefs, and leave us great texts and monuments that we could know more about these people who lived in ancient times and know about them today in modern times. It explains how the Niger-Congo speakers, known in history as the Kushites, took the syllabic signs of the Thinite script to create the various Mandi scripts, including Vai, and the writing systems used in Minoan Crete, Elam, the Indus Valley, and the Olmec people of Mexico. Egyptian language is a very important book. It provides the genetic, linguistic, and archaeological evidence relating to the diverse Niger-Congo speakers who made up segments of the Egyptian nation. Readers of this book will learn that the Niger-Congo speakers originated in the highland regions of Middle Africa, the Mountains of the Moon, and that this population later settled Upper Egypt and formerly belonged to the Unanian culture. Get Egyptian language. You'll enjoy it and you'll learn.